Breaking news into First Take this morning out of the NBA. After one season, the Pistons have fired coach Monty Williams, who leaves with 5 years and $65 million plus left on his deal, sources telling our Adrian Wojnarowski. Wow. Stephen A., your reaction to the latest?
I don't know how well you know Monty Williams, Molly, but
I know he's a class act.
He's a class act. He's a very God-fearing man.
Yes.
And as I said on Get Up earlier, Monty Williams, no doubt, is on his knees, looking up to the Heavenly Father and thanking him for this right here, right now. He's been in purgatory for quite a while, being with Detroit. I don't know if he'll ever admit it or not, but there was clear hesitancy once he took the job. Clearly, you know, it was a lot of money involved, got about $13 million a year, et cetera. But Detroit has not been an ideal place for quite some time. And, you know, him being out of that situation, particularly with Troy Weaver being gone as the GM, it is clearly the right situation, the right decision to be made. Monty Williams, as far as I'm concerned, never belonged to Detroit. My belief is that he should have stayed in Phoenix.
I was going to say, I felt like, didn't he get a raw deal in Phoenix?
Yeah, he sure did.
I think he got a raw deal in Phoenix, and if you're going to end up someplace, he should be in some place like L.A. or something like that. But the Detroit situation, no, it was never the right fit for him. I'm happy for him. Even if he doesn't, I'm assuming he already knows to be happy. But just in case he doesn't, Monty, you'll be fine, my brother. You'll be fine.
But it feels
Everything's going to be all right. You'll be just fine.
I know Detroit had a nice draft, but it feels like that team, they need an overhaul.
And
because it's just the city deserves better, and it just.
And they fired Van Gundy quickly, too, a couple of years ago. They gave him a fortune, and they got rid of him in a couple of years. Yeah. They've had a history of doing it.
They've had a
different GM.
Well, but you got to remember,
same owner, though.
Van Gundy had control. And so what happens is he was held responsible a couple before fallouts.
Since Tom Gores had bought the team in 2011, he'll now be looking for his sixth head coach.
No, that's one of the reasons why they can't win a game.
I also want to say this. I know we've been talking a lot about J.J. Redick, but with Monty Williams available, that is a situation that the Los Angeles Lakers should look at. Okay, so I would definitely say that as well. They should look at it. Obviously, Jeannie Buss, you know how much I love Jeannie Buss. I'm rooting for her to find the right person for the job. Respect Rob Pelinka, what he's going to do, you know. And yes, I respect Kurt Rambis too. I was joking around about him earlier, but I respect him too. So listen, they're all going to be a part of the process, and we'll see what happens. And you know, I think Monty Williams definitely should be a candidate for that job.
What do they have, the fifth pick in the draft?
Who? Not the Lakers?
Detroit?
Yeah,
they did not win a fourth or fifth pick. They did not win the lottery.
That's right. No,
somewhere in that area. They had, they lose 29 in a row? What was the number?
Like it was 28, 29 in a row.
I mean that's that was, and they were pretty. They gave you an effort.
They can turn it around though. The Lions turned it around. We said it about the Lions for years. Fair. They were knocking out a Super Bowl contenders this year.
Easier in football. You get the one quarterback who plays well. Basketball, you need a lot of different guys. It's a little different, but you're right.
Yeah,
you're right. Sharp today.
I do know a couple things. It's this right here.
Oh, that
caffeine.
Don't be drink. Oh,
Matcha.
My God.
Read about it. Stay young forever.
There's a long drive, way back in center field. It is Monty Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch which must have been an optical illusion.
Good morning. The sports world is mourning today as we've lost a legend that transcended his sport. Of course, Stephen A. Smith, Mad Dog, I'm Molly Karam, and Tim Kirkchin will be here shortly. Gentlemen, let's get right into it. Willie Mays, the iconic Hall of Fame center fielder who is known as the greatest all-around baseball player ever, died Tuesday. The San Francisco Giants announced he was 93 years old. Mays, nicknamed the Say Hey Kid, had a professional baseball career that spanned 4 decades, beginning with the Negro Leagues in the late 1940s and ending with the New York Mets in 1973. In between, he spent 21 years with the New York Giants, who would later move to San Francisco. Mays was a 24-time All-Star. Only Hank Aaron had more. Mays' passing incited an outpouring of tributes for both his decorated playing career and his impact on everything else beyond baseball. Mays' godson, Barry Bonds, posted on Instagram, "I am beyond devastated and overcome with emotion. I have no words to describe what you mean to me. You helped shape me to be who I am today. Thank you for being my godfather and always being there. Give my dad a hug for me. Rest in peace, Willie. I love you forever. Hashtag say hey." Here's Ken Griffey Jr., reflecting on the impact of Willie Mays.
When you think about playing center field and you're a person of color, that's who they compare you to. And for him to pull me aside and spend all the time he did with me, it means a lot. You know, at the time I was 17 in the instructional league. It was just like, hey, go out there and play your game and let it all out. And that's the one thing, you know, when you talk about center fielders, you look at it and go, he covered everything. And you just wanted to be like him.
Tim Kurkjian joining us now. And Tim, icon, legend, I'm not using those terms loosely, transcended his sport. What will you remember from the historic life of Willie?
Well, I'll remember that he's the greatest player that I've ever seen. And with Babe Ruth, he's one of the two greatest players of all time. When he came in 1951, the game had never seen a player quite like him. He became very quickly the greatest combination of power, speed, and defense that the game had ever seen. And here it is, 73 years later, and I believe he still is the greatest combination of power, speed, and defense that ever played the game. He's the only player with a 300 average, 300 homers, and 10 gold gloves, and yet he had 660 homers. He won 12 gold gloves. He would have won 4 more if they had handed them out earlier. He is the greatest base runner I've ever seen. He is the greatest defensive center fielder of all time. He won a gold glove in center field at age 37. Johnny Bench put it best when I said, Johnny, tell me about Willie Mays. He said he was magical, he was perfect. And anyone who saw him play, and I saw him play growing up, will tell you he's the greatest player they've ever seen. That's who Willie Mays is.
I saw him a little later than Timmy did, so I became a Giant fan. I'm wearing a Giant tie today for him in the late 60s, 68, 69, 70. So I didn't see Willie like Tim did in his heyday. But the two things that you love about Willie that I mentioned already today, one, him playing stickball with the kids in Harlem when he was a Giant. He'd come out, he'd play stickball, play for 2 hours, then he'd go up to the Polo Grounds to play a ball game, buy all the kids ice cream, hear these great shots. Look at this shot, Steve. I mean, this is great. This is Willie Mays. Look at the big smile. He's playing stickball with all his buddies, buying the kid ice creams after the game. I mean, name me a baseball player who does that. Go ahead. Not many, I can promise you. Right. And, you know, everybody gets a kick out of him watching that. You're going to see the ice creams here in a minute. That's number one. And then number two, and I mentioned this before, which is interesting. You know, remember, there was a huge fight. There's the ice cream. There's a huge fight in 65, which Timmy may have actually seen, between the Dodgers and the Giants. Now, that rivalry in 1965 is at its heyday. That's the Giants.